Hi, welcome, Joe here at WoolieCottage.com. I'm having a bit of a dye pot day. I'm just catching up with some bits and pieces. I've had a week off, or a week and a bit. Because when you're in your business, you don't really get any time off. So, yeah, so I'm just getting stuff sorted and dyed so I can make up a batch of new colorways for the website. So I'm sort of sticking with natural tones, autumnal tones, warm colours. I am using grey because I quite like grey, especially when you mix it up with other colourways. It can look really, really pretty, and sometimes it can have a nice warming undertone, an undercurrent look. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But in the pot at the moment, I'm working with a big pot at the moment because I'm just doing solid colours, and at the same time, I'm adding in different types of fibres. I've got tencel, I've got rose, and I've got tissue silk, I've got mulberry silk oil, and I've got trilobal. So I add a little bit in at the end as well. I'm doing it so that I can leach out the last of the dye pot. So I'm not going to hang around for a long time today, probably about half an hour, because I've got my Christmas Advent stock arriving between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So the dogs will go nuts once the door starts banging. So I'm not going to put you through that because it drives you nuts. And I've got this big light shade behind me. It's like a flaming UFO. And my younger dog, when she barks, it echoes, it rings. It's like being inside a big bell in a church. So yeah, I'm just waiting for this to hopefully saturate a bit more of that colour away. Where's the tones gone? Oh, they're up there. Let's see how we're going. So I want the water as clear as I can get it. Yeah, that'll do, because I'm adding in a grey next. So I just wanted to leach away the last of this colour. At the same time, I'm boiling the kettle up so I can make myself hot chocolate. So I've got the fire on. I feel like I could go for a kip. Got the fire on, I've got this going. The house is really toasty. I've got the back door open. I'm absolutely shattered with the heat. So I'm just going to plop this into the sink so it'll have a soak with the other rovings that I've dyed up. Alright, just get that in the sink. Right, so what I'm going with next, I don't know if I'm going to go with that one yet. I was going to go with a bluey grey, but what I think I might go with now is this colour. Go for a solid tobacco. I'll show you what's inspiring me is these autumnal colours today. So I'm using Pinterest just to get me going because I've been out of this for a couple of weeks now. So I'm going with this theme. So I'm dyeing a dark colourway. So this colour here is the one I'm going to dye as a solid. And I have got colours upstairs already dyed up. That will go really well with this blended art bat next week when I get it on the website. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. I might dye up some tissue silk in a minute in a maybe the olive greeny colour. I'll have a think of that in a minute as I go along because I have got some other fibres that I want to dye as I go. So I'm just going to get my spoon. I want to go lie down, darling. So I'm using a dye, it's a Dharma dye called Tobacco. Now I love the colour of this, but it does split a little. It can get like little pigments of green through it, which I don't mind. I quite like it that it's not a total solid. Like earlier, just before I come on live, I had purple in the pot for a dye way. And I'm like, I don't really like that. So I end up adding the Cabernet that I had as well and put them both in together in the pot. And it come out with a lovely sort of two-tone roving. Very, very pretty. So I'm just going to give this a stir. It's got all the citric acid in at the moment that I need, more than enough to get going. And then I've got this one here. Where is it? This one here. which is a Corridale. So I'm just going to literally whiz that in my pot straight away, and I've got this gorgeous rich colour already, like coppery colour. So I'm going to put that in there. Then I'm going to get a bit of my Tussah silk, which I've already pre-soaked. This has been, hiya Carol, is it Carol? Sorry, Grand Carrot, sorry. This has been pre-soaking. I put all my fibres in the sink this morning with some dishwashing detergent because it just helps cling to the fibres a little bit better. Advisedly, you want to put, if you're going to work with silks and things to dye with, you want to really soak it overnight. Because of the type of fibre that it is, it doesn't really, it takes ages for the moisture to penetrate the inside the core of the staple of the fibre. So you really want to soak it for as long as you can. 24 hours is ideal, but before you dye, if you say you're going to dye now, lunchtime, put them in the sink at 8 o'clock in the morning. Hand hot water, so a dash of washing up liquid is all you need. It works a little bit like a Eucalan, and it helps those dye pigments adhere to that. And I do, even though as a rule plant-based fibres don't take citric acid, some of them will take them in partially, which the rose, it doesn't take a full strong colour, but it takes a nice sort of wishy-washy pastel. And if I'm looking for highlights, then I don't mind that. If I want my bold colours, then I'll go with my silks, mulberry silk or Tussah silk. You can dye it ready with silk as well, but that has gone more golden, can you see? So I try and throw it in at the same time as I'm putting the wool in, so it can take up a little bit of the colour. How am I doing today? I'm grand, love, I'm grand. I had last week, busy week, visitors. I had an old school friend that I've known since 1989, we were both 14. So she came up for a break doing the tour of friends around the country. My old mate Bex, and then we had neighbours that work overseas and live overseas throughout the year at the moment, but they've got a house next door, so their jobs have just taken them overseas, so they popped home for a bit of a decompress for the fortnight, so we got to see them, which was brilliant. Yeah, so it was really nice to see them. This message is held for review. Yeah, hiya Javid. So let me just have a look. No, I'm not gonna even. Right, hold a second. Using a timeout, 24 hours. Right, Javid, please don't start that. You're just reading for everybody else. I'm here at my own time when I could be upstairs in my studio working. So I'll put you on a timeout. You can watch by all means. No problem, but please don't start putting stupid messages up. I'm far too old for that, carry on. I'm 50, not 12. If you want to ask normal questions about what it is that I'm doing, then fine, beyond, have at it. But please don't be doing silly messages, because it just ruins it, because a lot of people come on here are from actually my customers and a community that I've built up over the last 5 years of being on YouTube. So don't ruin it for everybody, because I'll just go. Yeah. So yeah, I've had a lovely time. Grand Carrot. There we go. My DPD guy with my Christmas Advent stock is on his way. Be in half an hour. That's plenty of time. Just make myself an hot chocolate. So yeah, no, I've had a lovely time, and then I needed a day just to get over it. Just to get over it. And the other half, Mr. Phil, he was off as well for an entire week. So it's like having the full house of 3 kids in the place. And they drive you all nuts. Bless their cotton socks. But no, it was nice to catch up. We had cooked dinner for everybody every time they come round, and had the fire lit because it's getting cold at night time. It's getting cold at night time now, so the fire's getting lit again, and it's just nice to sit in front of the fire with some old friends and just catch up and have a bit of a natter and put the world to rights, really. That's what it's all about when you get to, like, well, over 30, when you can make sense of, when you just make sense, establish more long-lasting relationships, when you know where you're at with yourself, don't you? You know yourself a bit more as a person. And finding people that are like-minded to yourself's always a bonus. So I'm just going to scoop the this wool and the tussar silk out of here. And that tussar silk's got a lovely, really like a buttery gold colour, which I'm really happy with. And this is going straight in the sink. I use a little bit, just a dash of fabric conditioner. You can use wool wash. The wool wash you buy from a wool supplier. Don't use wool wash for delicate silks and wools because there's enzymes that they put in there. There's an enzyme that they put in a wool wash, silks and wool delicate hand wash, that sort of thing. Those specific bottles, don't use those if you're ever doing them for dyeing this sort of thing, because there's enzymes in there that actually break down the fibre content of your wools. So I wouldn't use them. I would just use a normal laundry detergent when you're washing. Just do it by hand. But when you're doing this, it's just hand hot water, and it goes straight in the sink with the tiniest little bit of fabric conditioner, preferably eco-friendly, which is what I try and do. But I've run out, so all I've got is my Lano. So just a little dash of that, and it just helps to bring up the pH balance. I've got to go now, sunbed. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I will do. Thank you very much. I've got a couple of custom orders that I need to get on with. But you have a great day, Grand Carrot. Thank you for joining in. So yeah, these just go straight in the sink. You sit there and soak. It helps bring up the pH balance and reduces out the citric acid, which is just crystallized lemon. Something burning, I see smoke. No, I'm dyeing wool, Azar. Dyeing wool, so it goes in a big pot. It's not smoke, it's steam. So I'm just going to top up the water in here a little bit more. And then I'm going to add in a dash of grey and a dash of a colour called sea salt. So I'm going to use the grey like an equivalent of a black, and that will help give it more of a darker dusky tone. So I've got this colour, it's called Sea Spray by Dharma. I do use other dye brands, but I just prefer using these at the moment. So just put that lid back on there, and then the other one I'm going to use is Platinum. And then when you're mixing colours up together, get yourself a piece of kitchen roll. I'll just go and get mine. And then once the water and the dye has melted and broken down in the heat of the water, give it a little bit of a stir, and then use your kitchen towel. Dab it into the water, into the dye stock in the pot, and then you can see if you've got the colour that you're looking for. Can you see that? It's a bit wishy-washy, but it is a very soft sky blue, but I want it a little bit darker than that. So I'm going to go in again with a bit more blue. Add that in there again. And again, a bit more grey. See how that goes. Have a look. So that was the blue. You can just see it in my hand. It's like a really dirty, cloudy blue. So if I go in from this side and give my stock pot with my dye stock in there a stir, and then see if I can get a bit darker. Yeah, you can see already that's a lot darker in comparison to the other one. You can just make it out. So anyway, that's what you can do. Use a bit of kitchen towel, and that will help you decide whether you've mixed the right ratio of colours together that you're happy with. So I'm going to, again, I've got some rose fibre now. I want some, where we go? I want some mulberry silk oil is in here somewhere. Where is it at? Here it is. I want some mulberry silk oil, which I'm going to throw in. And then I've got my wool. This one is Punto and Aries, and I want to throw all of this in together. And it all hit the dye stock at the same time. and it'll give these fibres a little bit of space. There we go. And I'll just leave that alone for a few minutes to set to the wool. It doesn't take long. Citric acid that's in there, as I say, is just a granules. It's dehydrated lemon juice, used in bath bombs. It's food grade. It's not harmful to you or anyone else. When you finish with it and you've still got the citric pot and there's no dye in there, if you want to neutralise it so you can pour it down your sink into the main system, or if you've got a septic tank, add some bicarbonated soda. That will break down straight away any acid that's in there. Really all you're doing is bringing up the pH levels for the acid to work to adhere to the wool fibre. Otherwise, let it cool down, and if you've got a nice garden and you've got any azaleas, rhododendrons, pine trees, heathers, those sort of things that like peat-based soil, and because peat-based soil is really hard to get hold of these days, you're back again. Because peat-based soils are really hard and they've been sort of banned in the UK at least, you can use the cold water from your dye pot and just let it cool down, stick it out in the garden in a spare watering can, and use that to water your azaleas and your citric-loving plants, your heathers, as I say. I'm trying to think of other ones, your firs. I'm trying to think of the plants that are citric, camellias, rhododendrons. You could add it to a hydrangea to see if you could change the colours on that, because you'll get blue flowers, pink flowers, you get your purple flowers and sort of reddy tones, but they will all be affected depending on what the pH balance is in the water that comes into the ground. Where I live, it's salt, so it's alkaline. So I'm literally just a stone's throw from the beach just down the street from me. So my air is alkaline. It's got iron or some sort of chemical in it as well, because when my bird baths fill up, it has like a rust in there that solidifies into flakes. So yeah, so that's what we've got. That's what I've got to contend with. So how is my blue going? So this is practically diced. Yeah, the water is gone clear. So I can now take out my Punto and Aries wool, and that's it. Now I don't mind that it's blotchy, because once it gets dyed, blended up into the art bats or even just into carded bats, it evens itself out. It's not a big problem at all. It's not a hassle. It can be quite tricky to actually get a complete and not a solid dye with no blotches in when you're dyeing yourself. When you're dyeing with yarn, it can be a little bit easier if you're dyeing undyed yarns or hand spun yarn. It can be a little bit better, easier, because you can lie in your dye tray. These things here look like, well, the roasting trays really, but you can lie in there and submerge the actual yarn in the water so it lies in it like a bath, and that helps that dye to penetrate into that. So I'm just going to get this in my sink again with the rest of my solids, and then I think we might be on to laying out wool in my dye tray. I'm going to see where we're at on this. Oh, I like that. I've got nice cloudy mulberry silk oil, and it's got this dusky blue to it. I'll show you the picture that I'm inspired by. Now I won't always adhere to it, not always when I go to blend, but I use it just as a sounding board. So just get that in there, and I think I've got some rose fibre in here as well. It's a fiddly little swine. Mulberry silk's an absolute nightmare when you're using an oil, but the rose silk's in there as well, and it's got this gorgeous blue silvery tone to it. Can you see there that sheen? That's from the rose fibre. It's lovely. And there, I think I've got a bit more to try and pilfer out. Okay, I'll get the rest of that out once the water completely cools down. Right, so they're all having a little soak in that tray there. Now what have I got? Yeah, I've got some merino to work with, and I've still got some silks to work with as well. But what I think I will do, because there's still a bit of blue in there, while I'm not paying no attention, I've got trilobal, which is the nylon, and I'm going to put that straight back in the pot. I'm going to lift the pot and put it over on the side, and that water will cool down because I'm not using it at the moment. I'm just going to leave that and let the last of the dye stock penetrate in there, and then I'll probably save that water for my azaleas that are out in my back garden and my heathers. So I need some kitchen towel, wipe that way. So the colour that I was aiming for, I quite liked. So I was thinking of two different pictures. So there's this one here that I like the look of, and it's that sort of really, that sort of dark grey blue, or maybe that lighter blue, but I was feeling inspired by that. But then there's another one as well. See if I can find it. How come when you look for stuff you can't find it? So there was, where is it? It was here a minute ago. This one. Because obviously Halloween's coming up, so I have to start bringing in some sort of Halloween-y themed colours. So that one as well was one that I was thinking of. So I was sort of trying to aim for a mix between this one and that lighter blue there, and then I can add in this pop of grey violet, and then I've got a dark teal and a black. So I've got exactly the fibres in my mind upstairs in the studio that I'd like to use for that one. So next, I think I'm going to go with chocolate. No, that one I've used. It's really hard when your brain starts thinking. I think I will go with library. No. I could go with browns, and then I could add industrials into it later. I think that's what I'll do. Go with a moss, aubergine, and a fawn. I think that's what I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to lay my wool out in the tray, and because I'm using 3 different colours, I want to lay my wool in a certain direction. Anyone that's watched my videos before, you know exactly what I mean. Oh, a minute. You're falling over. Try and wedge you in place. There we go. Anyone who's watched my videos before, you know that I have 2 different types of layout methods that I use. One is widthwise, where I do it like a Z or a snake all the way down, and the other one is up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm doing this one because I want for it to use 3 different colours, so I'm going to go from side to side in my tray. There we go, and I'll just keep doing that until I run out of wool. Okay. So when I go to put my colours on, which you'll see in a minute, they will all lie in sections coming down, so that once this wool is actually dyed and dried, when I pull it out, there'll be one section that'll be one colour, and then it will stop gradually changing to another colour, and then it will change into the 3rd colour. I'm only using 3 on this because the other colours in that palette, which I can add to it as highlight colours or contrasting colours from my stash upstairs in the studio. So with this, I've got to put that in there. And then what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to get some of my tussar silk, and I'm going to add that to the side of my roving, have it tucked in there, so that the colours that I use will also penetrate into the tussar silk at the side, and then I can use that to work with. So what's that? Rose. This one here, and I'll use this one as well. So they'll sit in there. Now I'm not putting the citric acid in yet. I want to make the dye up over here. So the colours I want to use first is moss, aubergine and a coffee brown. Okay, so let me see. It'll take me a minute or two to see if I can find the colour. It may end up being in my browns, but I'll need a pink, lilac, purple pop. What have we got here? I think it might be in my browns. Hyacinth. That's again fluorescent. Antique mauve. Amethyst. Blue peacock. No. 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 Right. It's always the way, isn't it? It's never in the actual box that you'd expect it to be in. What other one could it be in? It could be in this. Let me see. Right, so I want chocolate brown and I want, no, I don't want that one. Duckling. Olive brown. Oh, I might go with olive brown instead of chocolate brown. No, chocolate brown, Joe. See, this is what happens. Oh, there's sand. I've got fawn somewhere in here. Ivory. Pecan. Go with pecan brown, not chocolate brown. I'll find this aubergine. This, not persimmon. Olive, no. So I might end up having to use sand dune. Bear with me. I'm still looking for what I need. Is it in this one here? Saffron, peach, oxblood, fawn, orchid, that one. There we go. Found it eventually. So I need to get some pots. And I've got hot water in my kettle because I've just boiled it up. So I'm just going to quite literally put a spoonful, just a pinch of brown. Don't need a lot because there's not a lot of will to dye, you see. So I don't want to do it overly strong with pigment. Otherwise it will never ever evaporate enough. Right, so pinch one of these. So this is sand dune that I'm putting in this one. It's a really soft brown. Oh, I want a pecan in that one. There we go. And I want a piece of lichen. I want some lichen in here as well. Add to the fawn, moss green, lichen. Just to bring it up just lift it a different tone. I don't want it cook too brown, and I don't want it overly green, but just adding a little bit of a different pigment in there will give it a really brackeny sort of colour. Right, so the kettle, of course it's empty, Joe. Just enough to melt the dye at the bottom. Right, and I'll get some more water. Has anyone got any questions? Maybe they're curious and they've never done this before. I'll take you up into the studio in a minute if you've never seen this sort of thing before, and I'll show you what this creates in the end if I've got time. I don't know if I will because I'm waiting for this delivery to come. So I'm filling up my little beakers to 250 ml each. Probably a bit too much, but that's all right, because I can always use any of the leftover dye in my tray with my silks that I've still got to use. And I've still got trilobal to get finished off as well. There it is. stirring spoon. So this is going to have a really soft duck egg blue added to it when I'm blending with it. So I'm adding this first to my wool. That's the aubergine. It's a really, really deep, deep colour. There we go, that's on there. And then my mix of lichen and fawn up the other end. And then the last one, which is the pecan. I'm just going to use I'll use my tongs, and I'm just going to press all that dye into my wools. Like that. And then let them blend in together. And then just give that a minute or two to sit and soak through, and then I will turn the heat on and add my citric acid. There we go. So it's got these lovely, it goes from this dusky into these browns, and then this one down the bottom's got a hint of green in there. Right, so I'm just going to turn this heat on really low. This shouldn't take a long time. And add the citric acid. So the reason I put the citric acid on next, while it's like this, is so that the wool can actually soak in the dye pigment, because as soon as I add the citric acid, which is the fixing agent or the mordant, it's going to adhere all that dye pigment into the fibres. And it's going to be a really quick reaction. There we go. I'm going to turn that heat down a little bit because it won't take long. Just stick my dyes back. I've got some still here from earlier on. Aubergine. So that'll take a few minutes to do. So what time are we at? 33. So I think I will preempt the delivery man from turning up. So this one here is a sort of inspiration, using those sort of colours, and then I will use other ones to highlight later on. The next two colours I will probably work with will be maybe this one on a moss base, a moss green with these lovely pink hot dusky hues, because I've got quite a lot of them upstairs, and I quite like the look of these more neutral tones. Not sure, maybe them ones there. So yeah, might go with those ones. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it quits. I've been on for half an hour now doing this live. I've got a couple of others that I need to get on with, and I've got some more silks I've got to get dyed. And I'm waiting for my Christmas Advent stock to arrive as well. So I don't want to preempt my dogs going ballistic and me not able to get to the door in time, and you guys having your ears battered by my girls. So thank you very much for turning up today. I have posted a video up from the archives and Patreon from last year. That's available to watch now. There's loads of content on my YouTube channel. I think there's about 360 odd videos. If you'd like to just hit that thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. It just helps the algorithms find me. If you'd like to come over and subscribe, hit that bell notification. It's completely free. Doesn't cost you anything, but it helps. You might be interested in seeing what it is that I actually do for a living, and what I help supply spinners, weavers and felters around the world. Anyway, that's me off. Take care of yourselves. Have a lovely weekend ahead, and if you're in the UK, watch out, you lot down south, you're getting tornadoes this weekend. We've got a weather warning for flooding. Never know. The Derwent does look like it's about to break its banks. We'll see if the flood disaster workings are actually going to do something this year. Anyway, take care for now, and I'll speak to you in a fortnight's time. If you want to catch me anywhere else or contact me, you've got Instagram, or you can contact me via the chat box on the website. And I'm back to posting out to America again. All taxes and everything are collected at sales, and then I pay Royal Mail directly. So no problem. Take care. Be good. Bye for now.